Good afternoon. I hope you're having a pleasant bus ride at this moment. This is Bong Rivera. I'm going to give you some updates from our previous TB lecture in our previous CME meetings. So this will be TB updates for August 2009. Our updates would include current status of TB in the Philippines as of 2009, update on diagnostic instruments, techniques that can be used for TB, updates on treatment, updates on prevention, and some additional reading. Current status based on the WHO reports 2009 on a country-per-country basis. The next 7 slides are difficult to visualize on the small screen provided, so please refer to your handouts. Essentially, the next 7 slides will discuss that case detection and treatment success rates have exceeded the global targets in the Philippines since 2004. The country is now scaling up programmatic management of drug-resistant TB to include areas beyond Metro Manila, expanding services for TB in children and addressing TB in high-risk groups, including among the HIV-infected, the urban poor, and the prison population. The third prevalence survey in 2007 showed a 34% decrease in bacteriologically confirmed TB compared with the 1997 survey. The only new thing on the diagnostic end for TB would be the quantiferon TB gold test, or QFTG, which is a whole blood test used as an aid in diagnosing Mycobacterium tuberculosis infection, including latent tuberculosis infection and tuberculosis disease. This test was approved by the US FDA in 2005. Blood samples are mixed with antigens and controls. For QFTG, the antigens include mixtures of synthetic peptides representing 2 M tuberculosis proteins, the ESAT6 and the CFP-10 protein. After incubation of the blood with antigens for 16 to 24 hours, the amount of interferon gamma is measured. If the patient is infected with M tuberculosis, their white blood cells will release interferon gamma in response to contact with the TB antigens. The QFTG results are based on the amount of interferon gamma that is released in response to the antigens. Clinical evaluation and additional tests such as a chest radiograph, sputum smear, and culture are needed to confirm the diagnosis of LTBI or TB disease. The advantages are that it just requires a single patient visit to draw a blood sample. The results can be available within 24 hours. The test does not boost responses measured by subsequent tests, which can happen with TSTs or tuberculin skin tests. It is not subject to reader bias, as can occur with tuberculin skin tests. And lastly, it is not affected by any prior BCG vaccination. Okay. The disadvantages and limitations of this test are that blood samples must be processed within 12 hours after collection while white blood cells are still viable. There are limited data on the use of QFTG in children younger than 17 years of age and among persons recently exposed to M tuberculosis and in immunocompromised persons. Errors in collecting or transporting blood specimens or in running and interpreting the assay can decrease the accuracy of the QFTG. Limited data on the use of QFTG to determine who is at risk for developing TB disease. Interpretation of the QFTG results is based on interferon gamma concentrations in test samples. Each of the QFTG result and its interpretation should be considered in conjunction with other epidemiological, historical, physical, and diagnostic findings. A positive result suggests that M tuberculosis infection is likely. A negative result suggests that infection is unlikely. and indeterminate results such as QFTG results cannot be interpreted as a result of low mitogen response or high background response. A diagnosis of LTBI requires that TB disease be excluded by medical evaluation, which should include checking for signs and symptoms suggestive of TB disease, a chest radiograph, and when indicated, examination of sputum or other clinical samples for the presence of M. tuberculosis. At present, there are 10 US FDA approved anti-tuberculosis drugs currently available in the US, and most of them are available here in the Philippines also. This would include both first-line and second-line drugs. The next two slides will list down the next generation anti-TB drugs that will be available. The next two slides will list down the company developing the medications, its partners, the project that it is currently working on, and at what phase the project is at. The only existing vaccine against TB is the BCG vaccine. It has had little impact on the spread of TB, although it has prevented TB deaths in children. The largest and most recent trial of BCG found the vaccine to have no overall protective effect against TB infection and disease in adults. Further, the vaccine can complicate TB screening by producing a false positive result in people not actually infected with the TB bacteria. But because of its beneficial effects in protecting against some serious forms of childhood TB, BCG vaccine will likely remain a component of childhood vaccination strategies in developing nations, one such as ours. International groups, CDC-affiliated groups, also recommends that new efforts include focusing on a post-infection vaccine rather than exclusively on the traditional approach to vaccine development. To eliminate TB, it is critical to develop a vaccine that not only prevents new infection, but that will effectively prevent the millions of people infected with TB from developing active TB disease. As mentioned earlier in the IFMA 2009 data, with regards to treatment, there are 22 ongoing research projects for anti-TB medications. There are currently 3 anti-TB vaccination projects that are ongoing. None of these have been approved since 2005, and 6 research and development projects have stopped since 2005. This slide again shows IFMA data that shows the companies, partners, project, and phase of the project for the anti-TB vaccines. Aside from the usual information that we can get from the WHO and the CDC websites from the US, here are some additional reading for the subject of tuberculosis in the Philippines. From a historical point of view, research paper from Manuel Gisimbing in an issue of Chest in 1947. The other websites that we can look for updated and reliable and accurate information with regards to anything that deals with tuberculosis, you can use the websites from www.peacemid.org.ph and www.nationaltbcenter.edu. Thank you very much and good day.